Broadcasting.
All right, Gary, hi, good afternoon, and what's up?
Hello, Commissioners. It's Tuesday, August 11th. This is your issue sessions. We'll start with roll call. Chair Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Humberston.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader is not yet with us, but should be shortly. We'll start with a coronavirus update, and I'll ask to please bring Nancy Bush into the room. Nancy is our Director of Disaster Management and Incident Commander of our Emergency Operations Center. And as usual, she will give you an update on coronavirus, COVID-19, where we're at. And so I'll just keep talking until she's in the room. So there's a lot to share, and she always gives a fantastic update. So I look forward for Nancy to join us at any moment now to give you a quick update and then answer your questions. I see she's in the room. We're just waiting for her to unmute herself. I will continue talking because I've learned that. There we go. All right, Nancy, thank you. Welcome. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you, and good morning, everyone. So we are going to begin with our numbers again this morning, and the increases that I will talk about today are from Wednesday when we did our last report. So in Oregon, there's 21,488 positives, which is up 1,509. There were 350. We now have 357 deaths. There's 429,244 negatives in Oregon. Clackamas County has 1,549 positives, which is up 85. We have 40 deaths now, which is up 2. 40,931 negatives. Multnomah County has 4,960 positives, which is up 352. 96 deaths, which is up 3. 95,535 negatives. Washington County has 3,119 positives, which is up 198. There's now 25 deaths in Washington County, which is up 1. There are 60,677 negatives. Hospitalized statewide, we now have 152, which is down 9 from last Wednesday. 46 of those 152 are in ICU beds, which is down 1. 20 are on ventilators, which is also down 1. There are 780 ventilators still available statewide, and there are 157 adult ICU beds that are available statewide. Some of the EOC accomplishments for last week: we had 495 food boxes, 65 showers that were given for those that are houseless, 12 behavioral health Go Team events throughout the week. We had 30 requests to logs and completed those for PPE. 128 calls were received by the Public Inquiry Center. We have developed a plan with social services to distribute PPE to home care providers. Received 10 letters of support and commitment from county advisory boards and commissions for our recovery group that we are putting together. We did find out yesterday too that our school metrics and information is changing from the governor's office, and it's going to be primarily around the rural school districts. And so we'll get more information on that today, and we'll talk a lot more about that on Thursdays after we get the whole picture and we know what is changing and how the specific changes there. The state is also purchasing $10 million worth of PPE for small businesses, and they will be working directly with those small businesses to fill their orders. So everything will be sent into the state. We will not get any of that through the county or have to distribute through the county. However, there's no county allocations, and it's first come and first served. So we'll make sure that we work very diligently to get the information out to our small businesses when it's ready to go. Public health, this is for data from August 3rd to 9th. And so we have a total cases during that week of 125. Our case rate per 100,000 is 29.9. And we're working 31 outbreaks, which include 9 in a workplace, 6 with food or farm, 12 long-term care facilities, and 1 child care facility, and social and other is 3. So that is what I have for you today, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Well, I saw on the news this morning that Oregon's count was way down. That must be like yesterday's count.
Yeah, it could be. I'm sorry, I haven't seen the news this morning, but the count yesterday may have went down from over the weekend or something, but I haven't looked at that this morning.
Yeah, it's the lowest number we've had almost since the virus started, so that's good news.
Yes.
Paul, and then Sonia.
Yeah, Nancy, thanks for your presentation. When you just said we in those outbreaks, you're talking about the county only, not the
Clackamas
region.
County. Yes, Clackamas County.
So I have a question, kind of almost along the lines of what Jim was saying. Over the weekend, I think even Friday, we were hearing that, oh, the numbers are looking way better in Oregon and so on and so forth, but yet the numbers I'm seeing on the daily reports don't reflect that. And granted, yesterday's numbers were probably the best we've seen in a while. So my question is, are those daily numbers actual daily numbers? Because it doesn't seem as though they can be if there's somehow some information out there that seems to be that what's coming out in daily numbers may be something from the past, like 2 or 3 days earlier.
So one of the things you have to remember that our daily numbers in Oregon also include presumptives. So if those presumptives turn out to be negatives, that comes out of that count. I don't know that that's what's happening and how much that's happening, but we've seen that happen in our own counts.
Right,
So,
and that presumptive thing, when they're minus, that's usually mentioned in the daily reports that I get, right? That one that was presumed, it was not, so therefore, they'll show the math.
Yeah, I mean, at least in, the one that the county sends out, and I believe, I don't remember what the state of Oregon does, but.
Okay, so if John Doe, let's just say a John Doe, if John Doe, if you learn that John Doe got COVID, and you learn today, when will that actually be posted as a daily?
It depends on what time of the day it came in, right? So then it depends on the time of the day it came in and when they're able to get it on the next report. So it could be, if the positive is early this morning, it's possible it could be on this afternoon's count. If it comes in late, like after 3 o'clock today, it will not be on until tomorrow's count.
Okay, so unlike the reported deaths, which could be days and days delayed, you're saying that within 24 to 36 hours or so, the dailies are actually more real time?
They are, but they also have to be reported to the state. So you have to remember that too. So if my healthcare provider, say, James, he goes to his healthcare provider, he finds out he's positive, but it doesn't get reported to the state for a week. Well, it can't go into the state report until the state gets it, because the healthcare provider is responsible for sending that positive to the state.
Okay, so if the healthcare provider is slow, then it's not really a daily number then.
It's like, and I mean, that's true of all diseases that are reportable. It depends on how quickly the healthcare provider provides it to the state.
Okay. And my last thing is really a comment, and is that after hearing the outcome of the e-board work in Salem last week, and about $100 million being appropriated to nonprofits and non-government entities of that CARES Act money, with less requirements than being imposed upon the counties. I just got to say it's very troublesome that the counties, being the providers of a lot of those services, have still not received any of those dollars, and yet that money's being spent, and we're not going to get much of any of it. And I just think that's a travesty, an absolute travesty.
So I just want to add something to that, because I want you to know that we did get, we have another 10 million to spend. Based on a contract, it's nowhere near what we need. And I totally agree with you. And on last night's phone call, it was brought up a little bit. And they basically, this was the health professional said, this is a political issue, so we're not going to discuss it here. Anyway, we need to keep trying. Sonia.
So Jim, I have a question for you. I'm not really following that we have 10 million? I mean, I may have missed a report. Where did we learn about that?
So actually, Nancy can tell you, but in our contract, it basically covered. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, so in the agreement that we just received, it says that for a total, it's almost $18 million. It's just quite shy. It was just shy of that. So then that they're going to be giving us that we're eligible for, I should say, that we're eligible for through December 30. So we have been reimbursed, and we just got a reimbursement of 1.6 million yesterday. I got the email this morning. We have been reimbursed for around 7-8 million. So we have 10.3 million left of that almost $18 million to spend on this event until December 30. I hope that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. I really appreciate understanding that. But the difference between us and say Washington County is that we have to spend it and then get reimbursed, and we aren't guaranteed that we will meet whatever criteria. I mean, we're pretty smart about it, obviously, because we know what we're doing, but there's always that risk. Okay, thank you for that update. So a couple questions that I have. I'm concerned about what's happening in Warm Springs with the water issue. Are we engaged on that at all, since part of that reservation is in Clackamas County, or do we have any, and I know that they have more COVID cases. I don't know if you can give us an update on that issue, but given COVID and the lack of water, I think it is, it's just a terrible situation, and I'm really concerned about it. So can you help me with knowing?
It is, and I really don't have a lot I can fill in. My counterpart there, Danny, and he's obviously very busy. We have not had a lot of conversations, and the water issue has been ongoing, on and off for several years now. So I don't have an update on that, and I can reach out to them to see if I can learn more, but I know that they're pretty, he's really stretched right now, to say the least. But I can definitely reach out to him and see if I can find more.
Yeah, that would be good. I know that it's complicated in my brain in that there's the federal responsibility, and then there's some state involvement, and then I'm not sure where the local fits in. But given that there are efforts to just get water bottles to people in Warm Springs because they don't have drinking water, they have to boil their water. If there is anything that Clackamas County can do to be part of this crisis, I think that would be good. And I'm not sure exactly what that is. But Gary, maybe we can get some of our folks together to think about what we might be able to help with that. The next question that I have, so a few weeks ago, we really couldn't say, or Dr. President wasn't sure that the numbers were correct because of the delay in getting the tests back. Has that improved?
I'm not sure if it has or not, and she will be joining us on Thursday, so she'll be able to answer that question. And I'll make sure that she knows that ahead of time. And I have not heard a lot of information recently that has gotten a lot better, but I don't know for sure.
Because it was quite the delay, could be as much as a week to 14 days delay before getting the test results. A lot of different issues, but I was hoping that was resolved. Gary, do you know if that's better now?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't. We'll find out.
Yeah.
All right, Martha?
If there's a little background noise, I apologize. So Nancy and Jim, maybe you can help answer this. So how much are we anticipating this is going to cost us? I thought it was about $45 million.
That's correct.
And so what we've been doing is getting it piecemeal with no assurance that that's the level that we will reach.
Oh, we get the remainder of the money is what is guaranteed us. Other than that, no guarantee. At some point, we have to say, state, we have to balance our budget. We can't spend any more money.
Yeah. So then basically we'll say to the state, pretty much hampered our efforts? I mean, is that what's pretty much going to happen?
I believe so. I mean, when we get to that spot, which my guess isn't a month away,
Yeah.
probably, maybe 2 months, we're gonna have to contact the state and make some more agreement to get more money.
Money. Wow. I've never seen what's considered to be a metropolitan county treated like this before. I have to admit, it's kind of shocking to me, but that's another question. And Gary, I did want to address the issue with the tribes. As you know, Tracy has been working with me to be the liaison. And, you know, we've talked about getting her continuing education through Portland State University, which is still, because of everything else, has been up in the air. But I'd be glad to work with her to follow up on the Warm Springs issue, since we've been doing some direct work with the Grand Ronde tribe on the legacy project and other issues. And we've already kind of got that groundwork laid out. So I would, if it's okay with you, I'm going to suggest that we have Tracy kind of start getting on that for us. If that's going to be a larger issue, and really help us be the liaison to the tribes in general, because I think that she understands the nuances of everything that's going on with tribal issues. Is that okay, Gary?
Yes, we will do that. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
And
Appreciate
so your
that.
contact is Greg Leo.
For what? The Warm
Greg
Springs? Yeah, I know.
Leo, Greg
Represents
Leo
Warm Springs.
represents Warm Spring tribes.
So why don't I have Tracy arrange a conversation with him, and then we can get on with Commissioner Fisher's suggestion of how we do that liaison. But I think it's a good fit. And I think that also I'm committed to making sure our policy coordinators get continued professional education. And I've been really trying to make sure that Tracy, as well as others, gets that opportunity. So, okay, thank you. That's it.
All right, Paul?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, somewhere in the communications, I read that the governor's rationale for keeping us coupled was that, 60% of the people or more of Clackamas County go into Multnomah County or other counties every day to go to work. And I'm all for the data and data-driven decisions and everything else, but I would just point out that obviously the data demonstrates that that's not a factor. Because if it was, we'd have more cases, and it's just not. So I just find the irony there just baffling. Thank you.
In addition, there's still work on legislation in Congress, which, God willing, will provide funding for local governments. My understanding, however, is that is not what they're considering. So we can only hope. Nancy, any additional information, Nancy?
No, thank you.
Can I ask one follow-up? I'm sorry, I didn't have time to raise my hand. So, Nancy, I don't know if you're going to have the answer to this, but I would really like to put this on our radar too. I am very confused about what's happening at the federal level in regards to the president's executive order around unemployment insurance. And this is such an issue for our residents because people are really, really struggling out there. And I'm very concerned. What is happening? Do we know? And Gary, this might be an issue for Chris Lyons. Yeah. I don't know what happened yesterday at the special session. You read the newspaper, it's like they talk about the conflicts and, politicians' personalities and not the substance of what was happening yesterday. But given that the states are required to help pay that additional unemployment insurance, is Oregon participating in that? Do they have to participate in that? When will people start seeing those payments? And
this
affects everything.
This is the president's executive order, which is possibly unconstitutional. So I would not hold your breath or anticipate a time when that money will come until Congress enacts some sort of legislation.
Yeah, I've had conversations with Trent Wilson, and I don't feel educated enough to speak about it, but I think, I think it is a good idea. Maybe Mr. Schmidt could work with Chris Lyons and Trent to speak.
We'll have our Public and Government Affairs team brief you commissioners both on the special legislative session, which there's actually an email in your box right now from Chris Lyons, and the update on the president's executive order and the impacts to the state. That's the governor's call to make, but we haven't heard, I don't believe, what she intends to do yet. But we will follow up, and I'll ask the PGA team to please do that.
Thank
And
you.
Gary, just to close the loop on that, if there's an advocacy point for us in helping to be a voice to get assistance to people as soon as possible, this has just been a travesty, the delay in time, and people so struggling. The stories out there are just, it's just not okay for a country and a state that has as much as we do to have people struggle so much.
So Ken, let's finish this up.
Just a quick question. Has anybody heard whether or not the employment department is caught up with the unemployment checks for people? What the status is?
No, they haven't caught up.
I don't know the answer. We'll get that for you.
Thank you.
All right. Can we let Nancy go, Gary?
Any other final questions on COVID, commissioners? Seeing none. Thank you, Nancy, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is an update on the Housing Authority Enterprise Community Loan Fund. I'll ask if we can please bring in Jill Smith, Stephen McMurtry. I saw that our housing commissioner, Ann Leinster, was here, but she's not here anymore. So if she does come back, we can bring her into the room. And I'll ask Jill, is there any other staff you'd like in the room for this?
Stephen McMurtry, and if Bailey, I don't know if Bailey is on or not. Stephen told me she may be joining.
Yeah, she's there. So
Yes, if we could bring Bailey in, that would be great. I just wanted an opportunity to introduce you all to her, but we'll start with Jill.
great. So Jill, go ahead, please.
Good morning, commissioners. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder that we were before you on April 14th in a policy session to describe our opportunity to apply for a pre-development line of credit in the amount of $750,000. The opportunity was offered to us by the Enterprise Community Loan Fund in a special partnership with Kaiser Permanente. And we've become aware of a few additional business-related board requirements to move forward with that. And I'll turn the time over to Stephen and Bailey to talk about that.
Great. Thank you all and good morning. As Jill mentioned, we are moving forward with the closing of the Enterprise Community Loan Fund, the line of credit for $750,000 for the Housing Authority. As a reminder, this is money that we specifically pursued that was mission-oriented money in the fact that it helps us continue with our housing portfolio and relieve some of the economic burden off the Housing Authority, and instead have us enact this to let the projects themselves pay for it. This is regularly used in our industry as a mechanism for funding pre-development expenses for projects like Webster Road that we're working on, Hillside Park, and et cetera. When we came before you previously, we were just working on finalization of documents with Enterprise and their counsel, and they have requested that we bring forward an authorizing resolution demonstrating the receipt of all documents and acknowledgement of that by the Board of County Commissioners. The reason that we didn't bring this before you before when we had our study session is that Enterprise hadn't said that they needed that at the time. So we are just wanted to let you know that this will be coming back across your plates on August 20th. Hopefully you'll execute that authorizing resolution, allowing us to finalize the very last piece of closing on the loan. And before I open it up to questions, I also wanted to take a quick opportunity, which we're trying to do when we get these opportunities, to introduce you to another fantastic member of our team. Joining me here today is Bailey Knutson. Bailey is, I don't even know how to say, without Bailey, we would be forever lost. Bailey has put in so much time and effort on this project, helping to negotiate directly with Enterprise, their loan underwriters, our own finance department, her boss and me who asks strange questions, and she is always willing and able to respond to and get work pushed through. So I wanted to take this opportunity to just celebrate Bailey and acknowledge that she's a part of an integral part of our team on the admin side, and she's growing her chops on the development side. And my hope is that she can keep pursuing this career. So I'll open it up to questions and any questions you may have of Bailey.
Martha.
I don't really have any direct questions. I just wanted to thank you, Stephen, for all the work you've done. You've been a rock star since you really pulled this together and have been really innovative. And Jill, I think this is really one of the determinants of health, as you all know, about good housing for folks. And it's going to be actually an honor to really move forward with this resolution. So just wanted to make that comment to you guys. Thanks.
Are there any other questions?
Do you need a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I believe so.
I would move to have the loan documents part of the resolution moved forward for an actual vote by the board in the future.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to forward recommended documents. Any further discussion? Christina, you polling us?
I will.
Go.
Commissioner Fisher?
You're muted.
No, she wasn't.
Up. You were muted. You're muted.
I'll call Commissioner Fisher again then.
Okay.
I said aye.
Aye. Okay.
Commissioner Humbertson?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard?
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. Nice to meet you, Bailey. Look forward to working with you in the next 4 months.
Yes.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So this is already on your agenda for next Thursday, August 20th. That's where you will formally approve this. Thank you, housing team. All right, moving on, commissioners. Your business meeting this Thursday, August 13th. You have a very full agenda. You have 2 public hearings. The first is a first reading of an ordinance to update the local contract review board rules of Plaquemines County. Second is a public hearing for referral of a ballot measure to the voters of Clackamas County for a 5-year property tax levy to fund children's safety services. You have a board discussion item to approve a resolution extending the county's housing emergency declaration. And then you have a consent agenda with no controversial items to me, but if you think they are, please read them and let me know if you need any questions answered in advance. A reminder, next week will be your last week of business, both for your work sessions and business meeting before you go on a 2-week recess. With that is the list for today. All that remains is Commissioner Communications.
All right. Who would like to start? Paul, why don't you go ahead?
I don't have much for today. I have a issue in my neck, pinched nerve, so I'm not doing too well today. So I'm gonna lay low. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Ken?
I have very little, Mr. Chairman, but I will point out that our staff continue to do the boxing of food and whatnot like that for our senior centers, and we continue to deliver many boxes of food out to the senior centers in Clackamas County, including in Welch's, Estacada, Sandy, Canby, Oregon City, etc. Real kudos to the staff doing all the work and the volunteers who come in to help. It's very much appreciated, I know. When I get to talk to folks at the senior centers, believe me, they are very appreciative of it. There will be a TDC meeting and a tourism board meeting and a fair board meeting over the next week or 2 weeks at the most, and I'll report on those after they occur. Hopefully, this weekend, the fairgrounds will be able to open the drive-in movie theater, but so I anxiously await the ability to announce it. And that's all I have.
What's been the delay?
It has to be constructed, and there had been some permit issues that had to be resolved, which, to the best of my knowledge, have been resolved. And then there's volunteer workers that help do some of this work. So you have to work with the volunteer schedules, obviously.
All right, thank you, Paul. I
My
mean,
name
Dan.
Dan.
Martha.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So yesterday I met with Martine and Maria, Tracy, and Tim Cook from Plaquemines Community College, because I've been working as the education liaison, not only with the college, but with our supers. So what we talked about was what we could do to help Plaquemines Community College move forward. They are actually going to be hiring someone to really manage more closely their equity and diversity piece. And I believe Martine will be on, has asked to see, they would love to have her input. Gary, I just wanted to let you know, ask if that was okay to actually who they hire, because I think there's a real good chance for integration there. What we talked about was maybe a series co-sponsored with the county, with the college, and our education system and our libraries is kind of how we, talked about it, is to see what we can do to get books out to people from various authors dealing with the notion of racism and equity. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that nothing's been done written in stone, but I wanted to run it by you all so you were in the loop with that these kinds of conversations are happening, and that, Gary, I'm going to anticipate that we can maybe give staff time, but there's no solid dollars for this because I don't want to add to the budget woes. But Tim Cook was extremely excited by this. Martine knows some significant authors and people that could help us throughout the county to kind of get that larger education kind of message out. So I just wanted to check in with my colleagues to just give you a heads up. And Gary, what do you think about that?
Let's talk offline, Martha. I don't want to overwhelm our new office. They're just starting and they have
Right.
priorities to work on. So happy to talk about it with you offline.
Okay, I think talking about it offline, that's the reason why I wanted to talk to you today and let you know, because I really didn't want to get ahead of my skis with this one. But I think we could leverage quite a bit of things. So, okay, Gary, I'll have Tracy set up a time when you and I can chat, and maybe we can time this in a way that's workable for us and our budgets in that office. Because you're right, they have a lot of internal work to do, but this might be a good way to kick off the external work. It's just an idea. Yep. So I'll throw it out there, and then you and I can chat.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Sonia.
All right, just a couple things to update. The Human Services, Health and Human Services Committee of Association for Oregon Counties had a retreat on last Friday, and the Oregon Health Authority gave an excellent presentation. Their equity officer, along with Patrick Allen, really dug deeply into disparities and what some of the challenges are in our system in regards to race. It was excellent, a lot of food for thought, and really created a good foundation for us as a committee for the state to look at how we want to advocate and prioritize our safety net services. And just to let folks know, the real challenge, and we're going to need to be ready for this, it's going to be in the next legislative session. The state is not going to have enough money, and we really need to start thinking about what our advocacy priorities are for what we do as a county. And all of the counties are facing this, but we are critical safety net services, and without resources from the state, it's really kind of terrifying. So we've got to be thinking ahead on that piece. I wanted to let my colleagues know that NACO, I was appointed to be chair. I thought I was signing up for leadership. I didn't realize I would be appointed chair of the Children and Education Subcommittee for the Human Services and Education Committee of NACO. So I'm very excited to take on that role, and really, especially at this time when education across our country is such a critical part of the safety net, especially during COVID and what families are doing. I think that there'll be good opportunity to have some very, very important conversation, advocacy on that issue. Wanted to let all of my colleagues know that I had a talk with Martha from Volunteers in Medicine, and very exciting opportunity. Their lease is up in their space, and they are partnering with Clackamas Community College, and they're going to be doing a capital campaign for some renovations there. And there's incredible and partnerships. And Martha, you're going to be so excited with the connection with workforce, and we just had a wonderful conversation. So I would really like, as things develop more, for Martha maybe to come and talk to our whole board about what's happening with Volunteers in Medicine. Another very important part of our safety net and for our community. I know that our commissioners have supported those efforts in the past. So Martha, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for that. I just donated money to Volunteers in Medicine because we worked with Dr. Norris was our family physician for years, and he was one of the starters of this. And then one of the issues they had was they had to come to the county to ask to see if the county would help pay for the doctors who are retired, the fees that they need to cover themselves in case of anything going wrong. And we actually talked at length with our risk management department and been able to cover their insurance for that program. And and as I said, Alice Norris would not let me get reminded me that I was going to be making a donation, so that did happen. But they're a really good organization, and I'm glad that one of our own, Martha Spears, is in charge of it. So
yeah, well, we'll have lots of opportunity to engage. We all know workforce, and especially for the healthcare field, is critical, and this provides some wonderful opportunities for collaboration.
Yeah, and we did identify, the healthcare field was not actually considered as part of our workforce until we identified this back in 2006 or 7. So we actually led the state in seeing this as a workforce issue and getting that pipeline going with Clackamas Community College. So all the good work continues.
Yeah, and just on a personal note, as we all are going through this COVID world, I'm sure we all have stories of things that we're doing differently or new or adjusted. Well, Kirk and I went on a bike ride from Selwood up through Milwaukee, up the trolley trail, up to the other side of the park there at Oak Lodge, and looked over at Lake Oswego. I haven't been bike riding in my adult life much at all. And I can tell you I am a new person, having explored our Clackamas County trolley trail from a bicycle view. And I almost want to not do any meetings or anything and just go bike riding because it was so fun. So I encourage folks to get out there and do things you haven't done. That was really awesome.
Thank you. Gary, it'd be interesting to find out the impact of the court decision on PERS. I know that we had been talking about should this fail, should the court decision be against the PERS reform, that we would have to fund it. So it'd be interesting to find that out. Next week, we have a listening post on racial equity. So all of us are involved. I believe it's in the evening. Also, mayors and chairs this week. I know we've all been, they've been waiting for Martine to come on board. So she is going to join us for that meeting. And I know that she's pretty busy. And I guess it's probably phase 2 after we work with the county process to reach out to our partners in the community and see what we can do to help. There's a lot of work to do. Last night's meeting was very, very good. It was, we had some of the top people from the state. Well, we had the top people from the state. health, OHA, and the various directors to discuss the letter we sent out and worked out the details of how things they should look at, things we could work on. Anyway, it was a good meeting. I learned a lot. I'm afraid I just have to, I think I know a lot. I mean, after living this for this long, I do know a lot. But boy, I'll tell you, there's some very interesting details that still have to be worked out. How they count things, the metrics that could be improved to help us understand it more, and testing and all that. I don't believe we actually talked about the time frame of testing as you asked Sonia earlier, but my understanding, I'm an avid news watcher. As a matter of fact, that's all I listen to. And my understanding is still very much delayed. We could use some investment in OHA in our lab down there. And, I was saying that I had my roofing tested for asbestos. It was $45 for 1 day or $20 for 3 days. So I had to pay extra to get it done quickly. But anyway, a lot of good work's going on out there. The governor's not upset at us for the letter. We had heard that various people were a little bit angry, but that's not true. They supposedly very much appreciated the letter. With that, we're done until 1:30, correct, Gary?
Yes, correct.
All right, we'll see you guys all at 1:30. Thank you all very much.